streaming? I suppose you're streaming. Excellent connection. There we go. Hi, I am Gunther, and I do not have much experience with YouTube and streaming and all of this, but you have to start at some point. So here we go. I am going to read in public the Kraken that was released by Sidney Powell, the Kraken releaser. And the two things we'll be looking at is the Michigan complaint and the complaint in the District Court of Georgia, Northern Georgia. I see that the Michigan case already has a case number received. That is nice. Officially filed on 11/25th. That was yesterday. Whereas the complaint of the Georgia court that was filed like in midnight. This comes from her hard drive or from her website, so there isn't a case number yet. But that doesn't matter. A little bit of background. Let's just go to here. A little bit of background. This is her website, defendingtherepublic.org, and it is under heavy DOS attack, right? Denial of service attack. What is that? It's a bunch of servers out in the world, Chinese servers and whatever, all trying to accessing that website so that it's flooded with requests, so the website cannot handle any more requests. That is obviously the way to silence us, to silence Sidney Powell, to suppress. We don't even have to say the truth. To suppress the discussion, right? That's what these people do. But of course, fortunately, these things have been filed over on the archive.org. There it is. So we have the lawsuit here. This is where I got it from the Wayback Machine, right? Archive.org. And they have, actually her site itself is also there. Let's see what her website is. I've never seen her website because I can't, because they're trying to stop it. I hope she doesn't get hacked also, because that can be pretty bad. Here is the Kraken releaser. Okay, and we can donate. One problem with these donations are you have to be careful that they're not political donations. I think this might be a 501c4 organization, which has a political purpose, and donations are not tax exempt, which is fine. But since we're talking about donations, I want to pitch mine. I have here a little fundraiser that I'm running for True the Vote, which is an organization that this is a citizens charitable organization, which is looking for the integrity of the election in general, of the US elections in general. And they have a very big effort going to not only look into the irregularities with voter registrations, fake voters, dead voters in this election, but they have been active for quite some time longer. The problem was that they had been victims of frivolous lawsuits by the IRS until 2019, but they just emerged from this, right? Because unfortunately, Donald Trump could not rein in the rogue deep state, which goes after everybody who tries to stand up for a republic. It's a huge problem. But anyway, so there's this organization, True the Vote. You probably have heard from them. They're not unknowns. They currently work, I got to know them because of the Wisconsin follow-up on the Wisconsin heist of the election, right? We hear a lot about Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, but very little is said about Wisconsin. And if we remember the night of the election, in fact, here I show you the picture. We use this curve here, right? You might remember this. That is the early morning Biden vote drop. This picture, the prettiest picture of this crazy Biden vote drop comes from Wisconsin. In Michigan, it's similar, but in Wisconsin, it's actually even more clear. And we definitely need somebody to go after Wisconsin. And so that's how I found the True the Vote. I want to invite everybody to go to this Give, Send, Go Liberty to Grow for True the Vote campaign and consider a donation. These donations are tax-free, so if you are in the United States, you can deduct this from your taxes up to your limit of whatever 20 or 30%. And what we do, I have the little charity, I have a little endowment that I could put in place from some of the entrepreneurial successes that I had in the past, and I could put a little money aside, and there we'll try to help to boost your donations. So we're boosting it here. There's a full description. I'm not going to read all of this, but we're boosting this at 2 to 1. So if you give $2, we're adding $1. I have set aside $25,000 for this. And so what I'm trying to do is that if we get $50,000 in donations, then True the Vote will get $75,000. And it's not going to be if and when we get, no, they're getting it right now because they need it right now. The only reason I didn't just write the check of $25,000 over to them right now is because they have a pretty big budget and they can do the work that they need to do right now, but it's quite stretched, and I wanted to get at least 1% of their operating budget on this particular project to them, but I can't do that with only $25,000. So I said, okay, let's make a challenge fundraising campaign, $50,000. I hope people will give, and I will add the other $25,000, and together we give $75,000. And so what happens is that finally somebody gave $10. It's only starting to take off. And I want to thank Christian Kokus for doing that. And I'm going to invite everybody else to also let us get to this goal of 50,000 here real quick. Because what this does is it helps the good people at True the Vote. I spoke with the lady who's doing everything. She's the project manager. She's the computer program database designer. She has a staff, but it's all. But she does everything, right? And so she did the plans, and I would like to talk more about it, but I can't talk about much of the exact details. It's kind of in my area too, and I wanted to talk about Sidney Powell anyway, but. So these people are working on, every dollar that we put in there, they actually use for support for the infrastructure that they need. They have to buy expensive databases such as Equifax or other public databases, private databases of people, right? Because what they do is they look for voter rolls and they look for the people actually in existence, and in order to match. So that's where they have a lot of costs. And what I just want them to know that we have their backs, and that's what I want to do with this little fundraiser. So as soon as we get some like, I mean, this is just $10 now, but I hope that maybe in this week we could get $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or so. Then I'll be so happy to send to her money as we go, right? I'll just send her a check of $10,000 if we reach that goal in 1 week. That would be so cool, because then she would see, the whole group, but Through the Vote would see that people have, we patriots have their backs. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually read what we have in the Sidney Powell Kraken lawsuits. You remember that she appeared at the press conference jointly with Rudy Giuliani and the Trump defense team. And on that weekend, that was, I think, Friday, and then suddenly we heard that Sidney Powell was sort of relinquished from the Trump team, right? They were saying, oh, she practices law on her own. It sounded like they had fired her. And Viva Frei and Robert Barnes, which you definitely should follow on all questions, legal issues on what's currently going on, and many other things. Robert Barnes is a great veteran of taking very highly politicized cases. I think Robert Barnes even helped Dinesh D'Souza in his frivolous lawsuits that was launched against him by some vindictive Obama people like Preet Bharara and those folks, who will all be back persecuting us if we lose this. So we can't lose this, because it's our liberty on the line, and the liberty of all the people in America is on the line. So anyway, Robert Barnes, Viva Frei, you want to tune into them, and I don't put a link in the bar below. You'll just have to find them. I'm not a professional YouTuber. But so they were saying, well, Sidney Powell went off on the deep end with the Dominion stuff, and she doesn't even know exactly how the voting systems work, and that may be true, but she filed the cases, and that's what matters, because she said she had plenty of evidence and witnesses, and that's what we're going to find out here, what this is. So I'm not myself a lawyer. I have looked through many legal documents before. I have read many documents before. I'm more like a scientist, engineer, and know-it-all. I am interested in anything. So what we're going to do here in order to really explore these cases now is that we're going to go on a 30,000-foot view, because it's 104 pages. So let's get an idea as in terms of table of contents. So here we have the cover sheet, right? Cover sheet's interesting because, it tells us who are the plaintiffs and who are the defendants. Plaintiffs are obviously citizens. These are usually citizens of the jurisdiction where the case is filed. We probably don't know any of these names. And the defendants are Governor Brian Kemp, who is one of those corrupt rhinos who, I think he was elected because Trump helped him, and then he just steps him right in the back with these shenanigans here. Brad Raffensperger is his Secretary of State, who couldn't wait to certify these rigged elections and didn't want anybody to look into it, and other people. I don't know these names all. All right, so let's look at, just go quickly through what the pages are. Maybe I can actually do this here using the thumbnails. Enlarge thumbnails. I want them even larger. And then if I could just have the whole thing, all the thumbnails. No, I can't see all the thumbnails. So that's not helping me. What I will instead do, I will just reduce this here and see if I can show view page display 2-page scrolling. Well, at least, yeah, this is better. This is better, and let's get rid of all this stuff here. All right, so we have, let's just go through to see how much of it is the complaints, how many points are raised, what's the structure, and then there's probably a lot of appendixes for the affidavits that are filed. So let's see how this goes. So it starts out with nature of the action. This civil action brings to light massive election fraud, multiple violations of Georgia law, and multiple constitutional violations, as shown by fact witnesses to specific incidents, multiple expert witnesses, and the sheer mathematical impossibilities found in the Georgia general election. So this is the overall introduction. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 points, right? And then comes jurisdiction and venue. Now, I might have missed a subtitle here. And I think, yes, right, there's the party subtitle. Okay, so 22 paragraphs, if you will, explaining what points we're trying to make. Then we're talking about the parties. That's very important in order to determine that the lawsuit has standing before the court at all. Otherwise, it's a waste of time to file, and the court will just blow it off, declaring that there's no standing, right? So that's why they're putting in the parties. These are the plaintiff parties. They're being explained. I already saw it. These are electors. These are the electors that would have gone in the Electoral College for the Republican Party if their victory, their clear victory, would not have been stolen, right? So let's say it this way, right? Because there's no way that what was going on in Georgia was. In Georgia, one might even say, we don't know exactly. I mean, when you look at Alabama, when you look at Nevada, you might say, we don't know. I mean, there's good possibility that all these Californian zombies came into Nevada legitimately, and the people in Las Vegas just vote over the heads of the real people that have a stake in Nevada, right? That is very unfortunate. And in Georgia, we might have had something like this, right? But there's very clear shenanigans that went on there. Just the timing was a little different from how it was in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. And I should show you the data on this, but I'm not, because otherwise I'm going to talk forever. And we actually want to look at the case here. But I guess I came to this. I want to point out that we are not granting any way that the election results have Biden winning. That is impossible. And therefore, what we're saying is that these are the electors that would have gone for the Republican parties and will go for the Republican party into the Electoral College if the Electoral College will be held, and if we manage to stop the steal, right? That's the right way to phrase it. It's not necessary that the Electoral College will be held. These electors may not go there because no elector might go from Georgia, no elector might go from Pennsylvania, no electors might go from Wisconsin, and so on. And then what this would do is that nobody would get more than 270 electors in the college, and then the vote would go to the House by state delegation, which is a very likely effect, even though it's possible to go otherwise. But anyway, these are the people who are the plaintiffs, who have the standing. Then we're talking about the defendants, and that's Brian Kemp and all the other people. Jurisdiction venue, this has to be discussed and clarified that this court is indeed the right court to address this issue. Again, you don't want to be blown off, you don't want to waste time and precious time at this point and just be blown off by the court saying that, no, you are in the wrong court, right? Okay, then comes statement of facts. Obviously, this is going to be interesting for us to digest in more detail, right? Statement of facts will be very interesting to check. Maybe A is supposed to be this here. I don't know what the bibliographical stylistic standards are in these documents. Normally I would have expected an A before a B, but maybe the first part is A already. If we can reconnect. There we are. We just reconnected. Okay, I think it's good that there is evidence of fraud that is actually speaks about fraud, because many times we hear people who are even being on our side, like Tim Pool is especially annoying in this regard, that he always wants to play it super safe and not make any allegations that aren't super safe, that aren't reported in the New York Times or whatever. I don't know. But many people are saying, maybe we can't speak about fraud, but you can speak about irregularity. But here we are we're claiming fraud, and I'm glad that is being done, and not just irregularity. And we're presenting the evidence in court. Now, the court hopefully will cross-examine the evidence, and we will be able to really expose it. And there I'm making a little soapbox here. I just talk to myself. I've got a whole night, so I can make a little soapbox. And that is cross-examination. I believe that the only way for actual evidence to be really appreciated as to its how salient it is, how hard it hits, how true it is, only if you cross-examine it. And what it means to cross-examine it is it has to be an adversary process. And that's, in a way, it's like refining the gold by chipping away the garbage. That needs to happen. Even if it can be a grueling process, because obviously the defendant's counsel, the defendant party here, will try to throw everything and the kitchen sink in to discredit these allegations. And that is only natural, right? And if this goes forward, there are the defendants will have counsel, but then there will be lots and lots of amicus briefings, right? So there will be all these friends of the courts who will show up, which will be mostly the folks on the Democrat Party, right? They will come and they will tear these allegations and this evidence apart. They will attack the witnesses, and they will try to discredit them. Attacking the witnesses, I mean verbally discrediting their testimony. They will attack the testimony. Obviously, these vindictive, violent leftists will also attack the witnesses and the lawyers, and will try to dox them, and will try to dox me and attack me if I was famous, which fortunately I am not. And so they will do all this. because that's what they do, and this is why we have to fight, because this obviously is not a civil it's not a civil society where you have violent goons attacking and threatening the personal life and livelihood of dissidents, of people you don't agree with. That is absolutely not what can be done, what this republic can allow, and unfortunately that is what's happening, and that is what we need to stop. And there's a lot of work beyond winning this election in order to stop this this violence and this lawlessness just keep going on. So, but anyway, what is important is that there will be a vigorous cross-examination of everything that is presented here. And I want to see this, because only then can we actually have confidence. To give you an example, there's this lady, this from Wuhan. This she fled from Wuhan, Hong Kong, came to the U.S. and Yiman Li, I don't remember the name now, but she has this paper where she makes the allegation that the coronavirus, the COVID-19, was deliberately produced in the lab to be unleashed on the people, to have the effects that we have seen, including destruction of the economy of all our free countries, as well as the complete upheaval of the United States election and the ability to get rid of Trump, who is the only one who is really bothering China, right? So they want Beijing Biden, who was already paid ahead, so they don't even have to pay him that much more anymore, because he already got his billions of dollars from China. And that's who they want. So COVID and you and your lives, like if I look into the camera and I say, you are sitting around the kitchen table mourning the loss of your loved ones, should blame whom? Should you blame the President of the United States? What did he do about this virus? He unleashed an effort to build ventilators and push for the vaccine that Fauci says was not possible even to have in 18 months. And we're now not even 12 months. We're still in the same year, okay? So everybody thinks they can blame Trump. That doesn't make any sense, right? But who do you blame? You blame China, right? So anyway, this lady came and wrote an article, and she showed up on Tucker Carlson and even on the Valuetainment guy. What's his name? I'm bad with personal names. But this guy who is himself a refugee from Iran, he has this big insurance business, and he does these valuetainment videos, and he has great interviews, and it was wonderful. So this lady from China was on their shows, and she made her case. The problem, though, is why I didn't think it was very strong at all. Because there was nobody challenging her, right? The truth only comes out if there's a challenge. Otherwise, it won't come out. So this is why it's so important that, we do have the evidence. We have plenty of evidence, right? But bringing it into the courts and having it discussed on its merit, not just on formalities, right? Standing or whether the requested remedy could possibly be granted and stuff like this. No, we want to talk about the evidence. So cross-examination of the evidence, that is what we're looking for. So this is what we want to see now. But of course, right now, we are just reading what there is, what she brought forward, evidence of fraud. And the good thing is that we're talking about fraud, because fraud is a criminal issue. Right? And we're going to find widespread systematic fraud. Now, I'm still scanning through the document, right? And excuse my soapbox, and it doesn't matter. Nobody's looking. Let's just check in whether who is on my live stream. There are 3 people. 3 people are connected. Hi. I don't know who you are, but now there's 4. Okay, well, we might even have a dialogue, which might be interesting. If there were multiple people, because we could just have sort of a live session, and while everybody's eating their turkey, and I don't have turkey, I'm not even in my beloved United States, but it's pretty cold there, getting cold. But I sure look forward to participate on January 20th, the swearing in of Donald Trump for his 2nd term. But let's keep going. Okay, I appreciate people joining in here, and I just talked through the filings of Sidney Powell, the Kraken, right? I'll just try to analyze it. Right now I'm on still going over the big picture. So we have here Roman numeral, I'm just going back again, Roman numeral 2, which was evidence of fraud, a pattern showing the absence of mistake. That is really important, right? To show fraud, you have to show that it's not just an innocent mistake, which was so excruciating listening to these depositions at the Senate about the Russiagate stuff, right? These slick FBI people, the Comeys, and this was horrible to see. Everybody had like, oh, well, things have been done wrong, but it was just honest mistakes. No, we have to say there's no mistake. It is actually intentional. Okay, subheading B is the voting machines secrecy. Software used by voting machines throughout Georgia is crucial. Okay, so now we're getting into the Dominion War, right? That's the Dominion issue. So let's see. There is, and there we for the Dominion issue, we really want to see whether we have specific evidence, not just whistleblowers or testimonials talking about the general setup of Smartmatic, Dominion, the Sequoia thing that was in the middle between the two. We know that Smartmatic was used in Venezuela. There is ample even statistical literature about the fraud that was done in 2004 using these machines, and so there's plenty of that. But what we need for this election is we need to have evidence that says it actually did happen here. It's not just possible. It's not just how these machines are designed, but it is actually what has happened. So that's what we will hope we will see here. Then we have additional specific fraud. So I'm very glad that we're still talking about fraud. And we're not letting these people off and say, oh, we need to improve the system and mistakes have been made. No. This is deliberate fraud. This is what it is, deliberate fraud. And I should put, if I was a YouTuber, I would be snipping the snippets in here now. And you remember Biden? This is the most inclusive and diverse operation in voter fraud that he was saying. And everybody, like the fact checkers, were saying, no, this was taken out of context. But if you look at this is exactly what happened. It is a huge concerted effort, the most diverse voter fraud operation ever in any Western country. And that is not to say that it hasn't happened before. But what broke the bank is that outpouring of love and support for Trump and the Trump movement, the Make America Great Again movement. That outpouring, if you think about it, I'm digressing. I will keep digressing because I just talk into the machine, and I can talk for hours. If you think about it, what they talked about in that hearing, I hope you listened to the hearing yesterday. in Pennsylvania, right? If you think about how much irregularity, shenanigans, bullying, violent behavior was exposed by these Democrat operatives disguised as city officials or as government employees, right? The government employees are all, they have to be all thrown out. They have to be all washed out because they're using the government to take control over your lives. And so what they did, all these things they did during the election day. Remember that the old lady that was wanting to vote for Trump, and she was in tears because her Trump vote was not on the ballot, and then she was asked to put it into the scanner. You heard that testimony? It was like the old lady was at a machine and she put in, she never used computers before, right? But anyway, so she worked her way through on this machine to vote for Trump and then down ticket also. And then how this machine works is it prints out the ballot according to the choices that she makes, and then it scans it. So you have to use the machine, print the ballot, and then put it into the scanner. That's what these people, the voting staff at the polling location was telling them, right? And so that lady, old as she might be, but smart as she was, looked at that printout and she could not see her vote for Trump. It wasn't there. And she got desperate, and she called her daughter and her son-in-law, and they were trying to figure this out. But this polling worker, this Democrat Party hack, disguised as a volunteer, right, was telling them, well, that's because that's for your privacy, that your vote doesn't show. Now, don't worry and put it into the scanner. But so what are we scanning here? What are we scanning? We're scanning in the absence of the actual vote for Trump that this lady made and was adamant she wanted to have counted, right? We should count all the votes, and that lady's vote got just deleted, a glitch, whatever. My point being, concurrent viewers 2, and I think I just reconnected. I hope. So, okay, let's take this down. Where was I? Pennsylvania, election day, with all of the things that were going on, all the shenanigans, Trump still had a 10-point lead as we went into the night, right? A 10-point lead. And that was all these shenanigans. So the point of this is that Trump had a landslide, a massive landslide, because their shenanigans just could not keep up. They could not rig the election fast enough with all the votes for Trump and for the Republicans that were pouring in. And that's what exposed their game. And this is, I mean, we have to pray, right, that we can make this case. But obviously, that is what exposed their game. So I'm glad we're talking about fraud here. And now we have multiple expert reports and statistical analysis prove hundreds of thousands. Okay, so these statistical analysis, we have heard those. They're very compelling. But the question is, how well will these statistical analyses fly in court? Very important here again is going to be the cross-reference, the cross-examination. That's extremely important, and I hope that obviously Sidney Powell is not a statistician, but I hope that the people she recruited here, those statisticians, those experts, will be able to defend their conclusions against a brutal onslaught of of issues being brought forward during cross-examination in court. And these issues in a scientific paper discussion, right? In a scientific discussion, like in a conference or a podium or so. I've fought hard in some cases in these settings. And obviously in science, just like as in politics, there's a lot of political, rhetorical manipulation going on when having a discussion. And that will happen here too. But obviously these scientists have to be prepared that their words are going to be twisted and taken apart, and that the argument against their statistical analysis and conclusions, the argument will be not just on the scientific basis. It will be very tough, and I think it's possibly, and I hope we will find that the evidence that is alleged actually is showing specific people at specific times doing specific things that were illegal. And I know some of those are there. But I want to see them, right? And we're at page 62 already, and we're still not at the affidavits. So there's quite a bit of substance here. Now we are concluding one part here, right? A paragraph. Okay, this is the statistical stuff, 123, paragraph 128. We're concluding that, 131. Okay, now we come to the counts. And me not being a lawyer, I mean, I know counts are those things that are being in criminal proceedings, right? You're going to be convicted on multiple counts of whatever, murder, fraud, whatever it is. So this is, I suppose, is the meat, right? That's the meat. So maybe we should even focus on the counts. Count 1, defendants violated the election clause and some specific 42 United States Code, section 1983. Specific law violations, right? Obviously, this has to be justified, or has to be shown how they violated. Count 2, the Secretary of State and Georgia counties violated the 14th Amendment. Okay, so that's the equal protection. That's this typical thing that you can't have one place in your state treating people differently as regards to votes or anything else than other places in your state. So the rules have to be the same for everybody, and that case is being made by all these laws and all these lawsuits, Giuliani's lawsuits as well. So we might be skipping over them in here, because what we want to see is the Kraken, right? But it is a lot. Count 3. 14th Amendment, Equal Protection Clause, again, Equal Protection Clause, denial of due process, disparate treatment of absentee. Okay, due process. All right, we might skip over those the 14th Amendments. We might just skip over them. Now we have count 4, 14th Amendment again. 14th Amendment. I want to see the Kraken. Where the Kraken is not 14th Amendment. Denial of due process. Okay, count 5. There was widespread ballot fraud. That is what we want to focus on. This is what we want to see. That count 5. There was widespread ballot fraud. I would call it election fraud. Voter fraud is I think saying voter fraud is limiting, because it's like a voter was fraudulently voting. Like, I came in, claimed somebody else, or I, not being an American citizen, go and vote. That's voter fraud. But the fraud that we're talking about is fraud by the voting machinery. So it's election fraud, ballot fraud. So that's being alleged here, and that's good. So we will definitely look at this count. Count 5 is the meat. And then it's request for relief. So now we're done with the counts. There's 5 counts, and then now comes request for relief. And remember, the Michigan trial, the Constantino case, that was dinged multiple times, not considering the evidence at all, but only looking at the relief, the requested relief that was deemed to be improper or moot at the time when the electoral certification already has happened, because they railroaded it through, right? At that point, if your relief is to halt the certification of the vote, and the certification of the vote already happened, then your relief can no longer be granted. And so your entire case may be thrown out just because of the relief not being able to be granted. And so this is why we will have to look more detailed at this relief piece to see how this will fly. And in fact, I might even start with this as soon as we're done here, because now we're done, right? So 102, 103 pages, and we're done. And this does not include the appendix. This does not include the affidavits. So this is just the lawsuit. All right, just the lawsuit. Let's see who is on there. Caldwell Probst, LLP, Harry McDougald. I don't know this guy, but I'm not in the business. Caldwell Probst, Deloire, LLP. Okay, then we have Sidney Powell, and we have Lynn Wood. And we have Howard Kleinhändler. And that's what we have. And I'm glad we have more than one person, because as you remember yesterday, they launched the COVID on some of these lawyers, right? That we have to be very careful with this, because they can use this to say, oh, we can't have a hearing because of COVID. And then they use this COVID to the max to get away with this deal. Anyway, so here, this was the Georgia lawsuit. I said we're going to look at the requests for relief first. But what I'm going to do before I'm even drilling into this, I'm going to look at the Michigan lawsuit, because we want to probably treat both of them side by side to just save ourselves some work. Because, I mean, I should probably just have read them first before I even made a YouTube conference here. But I just want to try this out. So anyway, here I'm going to look at these pages side by side too. So I have to say do something like page display, 2-page view. All right, there we go. So let's see the two cases side by side. Here, who are the parties? It's the same thing, right? It's like citizens. They have to be citizens of the state of Michigan. In this case, they're the plaintiffs. And our defendants are, again, the governor and then probably the Secretary of State, right? Okay, cool. That's the same setup. And that's the good thing. The work that Sidney Powell put into these things, much of it can be hopefully multiplied, and because it's a lot of work that goes in here. All right, so nature of the action. Remember, the other one also had nature of the action. And then it has these various paragraphs, and you can see that the person who wrote this does it a little different. They don't put the paragraph numbers in centered above the paragraph. They put it as like an itemized list in the middle. I mean, into the paragraph. This is just a different style, probably showing that a different person was drafting this, doing the final drafting. So nature of the action, point 1, civil action brings light massive election fraud, multiple violations of Michigan election code. In addition to the election clause, the equal protection clause, constitution violations that occurred during the 2020 general election throughout the state of Michigan, as set forth in the affidavits of dozens of eyewitnesses of statistical anomalies, mathematical impossibilities. So interesting, how much is this different from the Trump lawsuit and the Constantino lawsuit that the Great Lakes Justice Center is launching? What we care about with this session here, really, I care about the Kraken. I have the Constantino lawsuit here too, and we could put it side by side, but that's not currently. That would just be too much. We're in search for the Kraken. We want to find the Kraken. We are talking about dominion systems here. That's good to see, right? In paragraph 10 here, in deciding to award dominion, that's very good that we're talking about dominion, where this is dominion war here, right? Fact witness testimony of voting fraud and other illegal conduct. And there is that paraphrasing expert witness testimony regarding voting fraud. All right. Then next major section is the jurisdiction avenue. Again, you have to show that this court has to take the case because it falls in his purview. Right? Then you have to make sure they're standing, the parties have standing. So the plaintiffs are registered Michigan voters and nominees of the Republican Party to be presidential electors. Okay, that's, again, the same thing as in Georgia. They were electors, which is perfectly fine. And we are not actually saying why the defense, we're not describing the defendants. No, we describe the defendants also here. Defendant Gretchen Whitner is named in here as her official capacity as governor of the state of Michigan, and Jocelyn Benson, Secretary Benson, is named as a defendant in her official capacity. There is a lot of problems in the document. I hope that somebody is has already done another. Man, gosh, I could have helped. I'm so pumped up. I really want to help. Obviously, there's something went wrong here with the text. But we can figure this out. This is not impossible. The spaces have been gobbled up somehow. Anyway, so the parties, we've talked about those. Statement of facts, okay, that is the same setup, right? Maybe that's the standard of how these things always are written up. So statement of facts, and then comes point subheading 1, Roman numeral 1, legal background, relevant provisions, okay, that's the expose of the legal background. Michigan law requires Secretary Benson and local election officials to provide designated challengers meaningful opportunity to observe the conduct of elections. and I'm just livid about this notion of observer, right? I mean, people have to think. Haven't we had 4 years of demo idiots telling us about Russia with allegations that have there was never a witness even presented saying, oh, I saw the following has happened. They had absolutely nothing, right? But they were spending 4 years of blurting in the media about Russia. You just have to open your eyes and you have to see how totally corrupt our world has become. And you have to turn off the media. It's ridiculous. You have to turn off. You have to, but how would I know what's going on? You know what's going on, not because you listen to the media, not because you listen to me. My God, I don't want to be famous. Or any other pundits on YouTube or anywhere. You look at what's happening and you see, and you learn how stuff works, okay? Journalists don't even want to learn how stuff works, but you're much smarter than journalists, so you learn. you learn about lawsuits. It's good to know something about lawsuits, because one day they'll throw one at you. And so so 4 years of Russia hoax and nothing ever presented, nothing ever filed, no witness ever spoke. Have you watched the impeachment nonsense? Have you watched these impeachment hearings, these official hearings in the House, and after that in the Senate? And did you pay attention as to what these people were saying? Innuendo, nothing of any material substance, right? And that's what you have to look for, and forget about these idiots, journalists who have no clue, right? No clue. So now, more specifically, this whole issue of observer, it's not about observing. It's in order to secure the integrity of the election. It's not about observing. There shouldn't even be professional government employees working on this. This shouldn't even happen. It should all be like in olden times. It should be volunteers. It should be respected members of the community who take their holy civic duty to discharge their civic duty of conducting a pristine, uncontrovertible democratic election process. And how do you do this? You do it in such a way that there is not even the slightest doubt. Not even the slightest doubt that anything was done wrong. So it's not about observer. It's not about, here's a hall full of our great public servants that are on the payroll and can't be fired and have tons of perks and goodies, and which your general small business or employee does not have, or your employee in the private sector does not have, and these people are all militant party hacks. These government employees, not all of them, but many of them are, and they'll behave that way, and they have power. They have power, and they behave like little dictators in their little fiefdom. So if you saw what happened, this one lady in that early in the morning on the 3rd, we saw videos where a lady with a Biden face mask. And she was apparently the superintendent of that particular voting location, right? She's wearing a partisan face mask. No, I'm speechless about that not everybody is speechless about this, right? At this moment, if you are discharging the duty, the holy duty of your office, public office, of conducting an election, you have to lay it in God's hands if you believe in God, and most of them don't, and that's the problem. But leave it at home. Leave your partisan stuff at home, and discharge your duty with integrity and honor. And that is not wearing the mask of your favorite candidate at the polling place, right? And then if you have observed how she behaved, how she was like authoritarian, pulling these people around and say, your observer certificate, no, that ain't valid here. No, that's not valid here. How do you even care? Why do you even care? Oh, there's something. why can't people be nice? Like, I mean, America used to be a place where people were nice. Miss Henderson, um, there's something wrong with your certificate. Specifically here, this stamp is from last year and it hasn't been updated. And unfortunately, but you know what? Can you do something about this? But please come in. Please come in and do and perform your duty, because really we don't have somebody from your party in here right now, because and we do need that, obviously, because there's no election that has any meaning if it wasn't not only observed, attended, no, handled by the adversary parties. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. When you count these elections, these ballots, the way it should be is that they pass through the hands of one person from each of the major contenders, right? One of each of these major contenders, and if necessary, if third party, whatever, if the Green Party or Libertarians want to participate, they should golly well be able to do it and take each and every ballot in their hands, and they call out, "This is a Biden vote," and the next guy says, "No, this is not Biden. This is saying Trump here. What are you talking about?" There is no possibility for a mistake because there's not one person who is the boss, who can boss everybody around. No, the way it should be is that it goes through the hand, that the voting is understood to be also an adversary process, but the adversarial process, but there's a gridlock of these adversarials, and just none of the two can get away with anything, because they know the other one will jealously look at this. And if you call a Biden when it was a Trump, or you call a Trump when it was a Biden, then you better do this only a few times in error, but not like constantly, right? Because then the others can call bullshit on you and replace you. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. So this is why talking about meaningful opportunity to observe is driving me nuts. This is completely wrong. The whole notion of there being observers is just complete bullshit to begin with, and it has been made a total mockery during this election process, right? A total mockery, again, under the nonsense excuse of the COVIDs, right? So it's not about observing, it's about challenging, it's about getting your hands on these things and checking everything out. And if that takes long, then it has to take as long as it has to take. But the elections are only good if we can trust that there is a thoroughly adversarial process where none of the parties can just railroad the others. That's what matters. Let alone where they can just get away with fraud, right? Right. That's end of soapbox regarding the conduct of the elections. All right, we passed the statement of facts. We're making our first legal background thing. Then we have the canvassing process in Michigan. So we're talking still about how things should be and how they didn't go the way they should have been. Then we have factual allegations and fact witness testimonial regarding Michigan election code violations and other unlawful conduct by election workers in Michigan State, Wayne County, and or City of Detroit employees. Okay, that's very important, but I don't think this is the only lawsuit that discusses this, so I'm not going to go too much into that. Because, I mean, how many hours will I talk here? I don't know how many hours I can even talk. And I don't know if anybody will even look at this. It doesn't matter. I'll do it for myself. Number 3. Roman 3. Expert witness testimony indicating widespread voter fraud and manipulation. This is good. This is good. I love this. Widespread voter fraud and manipulation, right? That's what we want to allege. There's no little oopsie, no little mistakes were made. We have to improve the policies. No. we are alleging a willful, intentional defrauding of the people. And in big numbers. It's very important. The numbers are big, so nobody can say, oh, but Biden won, so if you find 5,000 votes, it's not going to make a difference. Oh no, these cases, this is much, much more than a few thousand. Right? Anyway, statistical analysis, over 13,000 ineligible voters who have moved out of the state. That is also important because these are often hijacked by these. They may not even know that they voted, but they have been hijacked by these fake ballots. There were at least 289,000 more ballots processed in the 4 Michigan counties on November 4th than there was processing capacity. Yeah, this has been mentioned in the Pennsylvania talk also. In the Pennsylvania hearing yesterday with Rudy Giuliani. So you see how there are many overlaps. But this is so powerful. The fact that, what's going on here? There were at least 200, so more than a quarter million ballots were processed in 4 Michigan counties on November 4th. Then there were processing capacity. So what this means is you have to, the manual process and the due diligence that has to go in there is taking time. And you know how much time it takes to orderly process one ballot through the process, and how many you can process in an hour, and how many you can process in a day. So if you can process in a day 50,000, and you suddenly show 200 or 300,000, then that means what happened? Nobody could have possibly processed these manually, let alone apply due diligence to inspect these ballots to make sure they're right. So the only way to make such huge discrepancies is if you hack the computers, which is where we're getting to, right? Factual allegations, Dominion voting systems. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on, right? So we're going to look for the Kraken. We want to look for the Dominion stuff. The pattern of incidents shows an absence of mistake, always in favor of Biden. Wait, the pattern of incidents shows an absence of mistake, always in the favor of Biden. I think the point is that it's not mistake. It's willful, it's planned, it's intentional. Specific fraud, Dominion voting machines, and forensic evidence of widespread fraud. All right. Red flags in Dominion's Michigan result. All right. So there's the meat. There's the meat. The Dominion meat, right? This is what we're about. Fractional vote count in raw data strongly indicates voting manipulation through ranked choice voting algorithm. I'm not sure I can actually go deep into it, but it definitely rings true. And there's these columns that show these surges in ballots that are processed at a speed that is impossible. And very good. This is the meat of Dominion war. Excellent. Then here we have additional independent findings of Dominion flaws. Good. Dominion by design. Dominion vulnerabilities to hacking. Now, vulnerabilities, this is a caveat, caveat emptor, and caveat seller, that you do not oversell. Vulnerability to hacking is not. I'm not sure you can use this to actually make a case. you have to show that they were hacked, and it wasn't by accident. The vulnerability only sets up the plausibility that something might have happened. But we will look for more of that. The good thing is this is still about the Dominion War. We are good. Dominion connections to Smartmatic and hostile foreign governments. Yeah, what we want to see is somebody actually saying, this guy was involved, he called that guy. We have a witness that says, I'm just looking at this last paragraph here. In sum, as set forth above, for a host of independent reasons, the Michigan certified election results concluding that Joe Biden received 154,000 more votes, that President Donald Trump must be set aside. You can see spelling, grammar issues. This is huge work. This is a huge amount of work. I've been writing grants at night, and obviously, ideally, somebody would, now read over this and fix these issues, and but even government. I've been reading so many government procurement notices and things like this. There's always pretty glaring mistakes. So there's absolutely no reason to start ridiculing anyone because of that. Okay, now we come to the counts. Defendant violated the election and electors clause. Okay, good. Count 2. Governor Whitmer, Secretary Benson, other defendants violated the 14th Amendment. All right, so the 14th Amendment has to be mentioned. The 14th Amendment is very strong. That's Bush v. Gore, right? That's why it always has to be in there. And of course, these cases can be bundled. Widespread ballot fraud. See, that's what we want to see. So we want to focus now in looking at the detail of anything about Dominion and also the widespread ballot fraud, right? Count 5, statutory election law violations. Obviously, that's excellent if you can show that laws have not been followed. That should invalidate the entire election. And then we have a prayer for relief. It's nice. This is the old way prayer. It's the request, right? A prayer is a request. Prayer for relief. So what are we wanting to do? What are we asking the court to do? And I said in the other case, in the Georgia case, that we're going to look for the relief first in order to make sure they can't just throw this out based on relief. Okay, and then we're done. All right, so this is good. Now I'm going to take a moment of break, and I'm going to see what is going on here. We have 2 concurrent viewers, 20 playbacks. I don't care. I don't want to be famous. 3 concurrent viewers. Maybe I put. I'm not sure if I put the hashtags in. There was some tagging. Let's see. Yeah, stop the Steel Dominion War. Okay, I have the tags. Okay. So cool. What I will do now is I'll grab myself a beer, and then leave a comment if you're actually here. Go ahead, leave a comment, and if you know a way of making this a chat, and so everybody could talk about it. Then that would be good too. But I do have to check some other thing. It says the current resolution is this, which is not the screen. So I'm actually possibly causing a big problem here. You might actually not be able to see my full screen. And you might not be able to see the text. So what I have to do is I have to change my display settings. And this, I don't know if we can just do this, but I have to. All right, keep the changes, and let's see what happened here with my with this computer here, which is not optimal. Well, I don't care if it's optimal. What I care about is that my actual resolution, yeah, I want the whole page to be seen. Okay, that's good. We have this. This is what we're going to have. All right, I grab myself a beer. So now we want to see what is the request for relief for both of these lawsuits. Prayer for relief. And now we're going to read a little bit more because we haven't read much. We see that the structure of both of these lawsuits are very similar. We see that the amount of paragraphs are about the same, right? 208, 207. That's really interesting. And let's see what the relief is that we're asking for in Georgia. We seek an emergency order instructing defendants to decertify the results. That's very good, because we're not asking to stop the certification. We're now asking to decertify them, right? That's good. That can be done. In the alternative, the plaintiffs seek an emergency order prohibiting defendants from including in any certified results from the general election the tabulation of absentee and mailing ballots which do not comply with the election code, including, without limitation, the tabulation of absentee and mailing ballots Trump campaign's watchers were prevented from observing. And again, it's not about Trump. It is bipartisan. It is about the adversarial challenge opportunity. This is the exact same thing. I want that the Democrat Party would be granted if the Democrat Party was even anything that one could vote for still. But I mean, when I grew up in the 1980s, I mean, we always thought we were the underdogs. I mean, today it's obvious the Democrat Party is the fascists, is the mob, is the... I can't even... If you listen to this Oberman guy who is wanting to put us all in prison and kill us, and I mean, this is ridiculous. And there's nobody in this stupid party, or even my colleagues or anybody, who is saying no, I don't want to have anything to do with it. You know, I tell you, I do not want to jail half of the American people. I don't want to dox half of the American people. And I don't want to even attack people economically and say, I'm not going to buy from this store because he voted for Biden or something like this. No. How did I even get there now? Oh, it's the adversarial process that has to make sure that the elections are valid. There has to be an adversarial process. You cannot railroad the election. If you railroad the election, whether or not it be considered fraud, it is illegitimate. Period. And that's what they did, obviously. So it's not about Trump campaign watchers. It's not about watchers. It is about the elections having been railroaded by professional, authoritarian government employees who thought they were little kings that could just do whatever they want. Because they hate. They have so much hate in their heart. Anyway. So Okay, so I like this actually. I like this point number 209. What it means is like, let's throw these mail ballots out that have not been properly vetted, where there is no chain of custody, where the signature check has not happened, where you don't have clarity about where these come from. Let's just throw them out. Oh, but we can't throw out votes. Well, if you wanted to vote, you could have shown up at your polling place and voted in person. Everybody knew that mail ballots are riddled with problems and that there is a great chance that your mail ballot does not get counted. So don't you whine about mail ballots cannot be deleted or set aside or thrown out because you would throw out votes and every vote counts. No. It is very clear that this mail ballot bullshit was used in order to defraud the election. And so one very good relief is just throw the mail ballots out. If you can't get to vote in person, if because you're not even living at the place, screw you. You don't need to vote. I didn't vote. I have never voted in my life. Well, maybe I've voted once, but that is a long time ago. Anyway, so it's a very good remedy to throw out a bunch of bullshit ballots and be done with it, and send the electors accordingly. The third remedy, when we consider the harm of these uncounted votes and ballots not ordered by the voters themselves and the